Inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Good evening, I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in this week's Inside KELOLAND, we are checking in on the pheasant hunt in South Dakota. We're going to see how the wet and muddy conditions are impacting the season so far. Then we catch up with Louis Drug on this year's Keep KELOLAND Warm Coat Drive, how many people we've helped so far, and how you can continue to donate winter gear to people in need. Plus, the Parade of Lights is about a month away, how you can enter in your float, and how this parade impacts downtown Sioux Falls. And then finally, we are checking in on the progress done so far on the new Banquet West location. But first tonight, we are 1 week into this season's pheasant hunt in South Dakota. And joining us now is Josh Delger with the Game Fish and Parks Department to tell us what the season has been like so far. Thanks for being here, Josh. Obviously, it's wet and it's been muddy out there. What are you hearing from hunters?
Yeah, we've certainly had some challenges with the weather and the wet conditions out there. So we know that some of the places people are going to hunt are flooded with water. You know, a lot of that has washed away, but it certainly has that effect on where some of the birds are, what the habitat looks like. So there's definitely challenges with wet areas like that. But people are still finding birds out in the higher ground and things like that.
Yeah, we'll get into the numbers a little bit, but along those lines of wet conditions, how have the roads been in some of the areas?
You know, we definitely know we've seen certainly an interesting year as far as the rain and weather has gone. So a lot of roads are decent, but we know a lot of them have been washed out. Some are in poor condition just because of that, and it's hard for some of the maintenance to get done on those roads. So we got to be really mindful of what we're doing on the roads and watch those conditions.
All right. So what do you think the biggest challenges have been for hunters this year? Obviously, the weather. The first weekend for in-state residents, we had a snowstorm just right before the weekend.
Yeah. We know we had going into that weekend, we were hoping it was going to be pretty good, but Saturday was certainly a challenge. We had a lot of rain and snow in some, or not rain, snow in some areas, and very windy on that Saturday. But we know it calmed down on Sunday. It was a beautiful day on Sunday, so we think a lot of folks got out and enjoyed it on Sunday. And
last weekend for out-of-state resident pheasant hunters, how did that turn out?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good weekend. We had staff out in the fields keeping track of things and seeing how it's going. Again, we had really beautiful weather this last weekend. Saturday and Sunday were really nice, so folks went out and had a good time and definitely had some luck.
And you talked about conservation officers being out in the field. How many do you have out in the field, and what are their responsibilities during pheasant hunting season?
We typically try to have one in a county per se, but they share districts, so they kind of cover like a 3-county area, and so yeah, they're out there in force, especially opening weekend, the pheasant seasons. We have more people out than any other time of year, that time of year. But things are going good. It seems like we've seen low numbers of violations, and people are doing things the right way. Safety's always a concern, but no reports of any injuries or anything like that. So things are going good.
What do the officers look for? Is there anything like a dead giveaway that they would want to stop somebody and check their license, or do they do spot checking, or how does that work?
A lot of times, they're out checking some of the public areas, or they know of areas where there's a lot of birds, and they might watch those specific locations. But a lot of the violations and safety things that come in are reported from other hunters, and so we get a lot of tips that way.
Okay, let's get to the bird numbers now. How many birds have been shot so far? How many birds do we have in South Dakota?
We don't necessarily look at population numbers of birds, but we kind of compare to previous years is how we kind of look at it. So we know we're down a little bit overall on a statewide level, but locally we see ups and downs, and from county to county, and even on a smaller scale, you can have a lot of birds in one section and little in the next one. So anywhere you go, it's going to be variable like that. A lot of areas tend to be up from where they were last year, which is really surprising given the winter conditions and the spring conditions we've had. Were not favorable for producing birds. So all in all, we're really pleased with where the bird numbers are, and not too far off from where we've been in the past.
And I know as a pheasant hunter myself, south central South Dakota, the central part of the state, around the Mitchell area, up in Aberdeen, some of the hot spots, were they impacted as much as the eastern part of the state?
Again, we saw variability in in the reproduction and survival and what the broods did this year, and it was something that was kind of surprising. You know, we had area like Aberdeen that was up close to 50% from where it was last year, and then you went over to Millbank, which ain't too far away, and it was about the opposite. But again, it can vary from mile to mile down the road and from route to route that our staff are doing out in the field.
Do you keep track of how many pheasants are taken each season?
We don't have we'll never have an exact number, but we do track that with surveys and things like that. So, I mean, it's a pretty normal thing for us to take about a million birds in a year.
A million birds, I just can't believe that number. A million birds are taken, but yet we still have plenty left for the next season.
Yeah, we talk a lot about what the bird numbers are doing from year to year, but when you think of it in that perspective, in comparison to other states, I mean, we're always towards the top and on the top of harvest.
I didn't know this, but out-of-state hunters, there are some limitations at how many times they can hunt in South Dakota. I did not know that.
Yeah, with the standard hunting license for a non-resident, you're allowed to choose 2 5-day periods to come out and hunt in South Dakota. And that's kind of how it's set up. So a lot of times it's a couple weekends. You'll pick a weekend early and a weekend late, and that's kind of how it's set up. And if they want to come and hunt more, they can buy another license and get another 10 days, so 2 more 5-day periods.
So they can take some, but don't take them all.
Right.
All right, Josh, thanks for coming in on Inside KELOLAND. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still to come on Inside KELOLAND, we are gearing up for our next Keep KELOLAND Warm Coat distribution. What donations we still need from you right after the break. Welcome back. We marked our first Keep KELOLAND Warm distribution at the Downtown Library in Sioux Falls earlier this month. KELOLAND's Brady Mallory shows us how we are putting your donations to good use.
From your giving hearts to these grateful hands,
I think it's great.
these coats will keep someone warm when the seasons turn cold.
Oh, I found one coat, but I haven't found another one yet.
There's a good reason why Donna Eschenbaum is looking for more than one coat. Because she's trying to find one for her friend who couldn't be here.
And I help out what I can. So that's what I'm doing right now, at least trying to. So she's my friend, and she lives above me. We're neighbors.
That's a common theme in every Keep KELOLAND Warm. The donation drive began in 2014, the year a woman who wasn't dressed for the bitter cold died of exposure in a parking garage stairwell. KELOLAND Media Group and Lewis Drug joined forces then and asked you to donate coats. Every year, we see how it inspires recipients to give back when they can.
When I see this kind of stuff, it makes me, say, let's look out for our neighbors.
Christopher West is also grateful for this program. He says he and his wife have 5 children, and it gets expensive to keep them all in winter coats, especially when they keep growing.
South Dakota, we come together, that's what it's basically about.
Thanks to your help, Keep KELOLAND Warm is still making a difference. Even when winter is over, donors and recipients are sure to feel the warmth of today for many seasons to come.
I think it's a good thing to help everybody, help the community.
Wow, what a turnout. Joining me now is Nikki Griffin with Lewis Drug, one of the partners with the Keep KELOLAND Warm distribution. Thank you so much for being on Inside KELOLAND with us, Nikki. First distribution, how did it go? You were down there.
As you can see there, it was very busy. There was an intense crowd. It wrapped all the way around the library an hour before we started. And we just helped a lot of people. We gave out hundreds of coats and it's very active.
What is the maybe number 1, number 2 things that people are asking for?
Always the really large sizes. We want to focus on like the warmest coats possible, heavy down puffer type coats, extra large, men's and women's. Also work suits like work pants and warm winter boots. Anything that would keep you really warm, big sizes and children's.
Can people still donate to the distribution? I know we have several coming
Absolutely,
up.
yes. We have 5 more distributions coming up. That was just the first last week. And so you can donate until the week before Thanksgiving. We'll be accepting donations in the Lewis stores.
And I'm anticipating big turnouts at most of them.
I think so. If the first one was any indicator, they're going to be busy. We have another one this Thursday on Halloween at the banquet from 1 to 3. So
Yeah, speaking of the banquet, Keep KELOLAND Warm is kind of expanding its horizons a little bit with another event. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's something I'm really excited about. This year, all the partners, Lewis, Montgomery, and Kello, we're going to come together and serve a meal at the banquet in the beginning of November, just to sort of reconnect in different ways. It's vital and important to have warm winter gear, but another part of that in living in poverty or needing some extra help during the winter would be a nice warm meal. So I'm excited to all get together and serve that meal.
Can you talk a little bit about the impact that this is having, you think, on the community? We've been doing it for several years now, and there's no short supply of people the need, that's for sure.
Right. It seems every year that the need is growing, and at the same time, the goodwill of the community is keeping up with that momentum because we keep getting these donations. We're getting a lot of nice, new quality items, handmade items. So it continues to grow.
How does it make you feel personally, being a part of this?
It makes me feel really good. I'm glad that we could all partner together and do this. It's nice to be able to give back, to always be mindful of how fortunate I am and how fortunate Lewis is to continue to operate locally. So I just think it's important to stay involved in your community and serve when you can.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe a heartwarming story that you have seen or have heard since we started doing this?
There's a lot of them because this is the 6th year, but this last week it was really sweet to see. There was a little brother and sister, and they had come a little bit late to the coat drive, and they were looking for some cool stuff. And then the boy found this long black wool coat that he just really liked, and it wasn't very cold that day, and he immediately put it on. He put on a big scarf and a hat, was walking around. He just seemed so proud of himself, and he felt really stylish. So it was really neat to see that moment transform from a moment of perhaps need to like confidence, and he felt cool. So it's nice to help people stay warm, but also make them feel cool and happy.
I would think it's like for some of these younger kids, it probably feels a little bit like Christmas morning to them.
Exactly, like when a little boy finds that cool Vikings coat, or a girl finds the earmuffs that match the princess mittens. Like it's just sweet to see the kids especially connect with the items.
I agree with you. I've been down there a few times, and the kids actually really make it enjoyable to watch when you hand out the coats to the young kids. How many more distributions do we have? And I know it's not just in Sioux Falls.
Right, there are 5 more structured distributions, 3 in Sioux Falls, and then there will be 2, 1 in Madison and 1 in Watertown, and then also at the Montgomery stores there with our partners at Montgomery's. And then also Lewis always takes a big truck out to Chamberlain, where they get distributed to some different shelters and churches and organizations in that region because they need some help out there too.
Yeah, and Madison, of course, had the big flood up there. A lot of people impacted by that in so many different ways. I would imagine, something like this could be really impactful.
Yeah, unfortunately, I imagine there's a greater need there now than last year. So we're anxious to get out there and help support too.
People lost a lot of items in that flood up in Madison. So with the distributions, the overall impact in Sioux Falls, how do you think it's making a difference?
I think we just, saw in some of those testimonials that it's helping people stay warm if they don't have the coat that they need. I think it also feels good on both ends to be giving and to be receiving. So if you're making these donations, you can feel good that you're putting your items or your donations to good use. And then I'm sure it feels good when you see the community cares about you, and there is a coat drive where you can go get things if you need a little help. So I just think it's goodwill all around.
And Keep KELOLAND Warm is the title. I tell you, it helps them stay warm, and it gives us a warm feeling.
Exactly.
Doing
yes,
this
it's
as well.
heartwarming.
All right, Nikki, thanks for being on Inside KELOLAND. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Coming up after the break, the Parade of Lights is about a month away. How you can participate when Inside KELOLAND returns. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. Well, it's in about a month, downtown Sioux Falls will be filled with brightly colored floats for the 28th annual Parade of Lights. Joining us now is Sadie Sweer, the Marketing and Communications Coordinator for downtown Sioux Falls. Thank you so much for being on Inside KELOLAND. Nice backdrop right there, isn't it?
I know, it fits
beautiful.
perfectly.
And 28 years for the Parade of Lights, it's hard to believe.
It is.
It's been going for a long time.
Yes.
All right, first question, Sadie. Can people still get a float in the parade?
Absolutely. We are taking registration forms until November 1st, but we're really encouraging people to get them in by the end of next week. That's next Friday. And I mean, this is a great way to include yourself in this holiday tradition, bring more awareness about whether it's a business, a group, organization, church, even families. I mean, anybody is really welcome to join the parade.
How many floats do you typically have, and how many expect in this year, you think?
last year we had over 70 floats.
Wow,
and so
that's a lot.
Yes. So we are hoping and expecting that many floats again this year.
And so if they want to fill out an application, how do they do that?
You can find the form right online, right at our website, dtsf.com, and it's very easy. You just download the form, and you can either fill it out online or you just print it off and send it to our office.
Are there any requirements for this? I know this
Yes.
year's theme is called At the Movies, so tell me a little
correct.
bit about that.
About the movie.
Yeah.
So we're doing this and partnering with the State Theater because they're opening next spring, and so we want to promote that, and we also want to do a fun spin on the Parade of Lights, and we're getting some wonderful forms and registrations so far. I'm interested to see, there's some Christmas movies, there's some holiday movies, but there's also some other movies that will be interesting to see.
Yeah, that'd be fun, especially for the kids to see the different
Yes.
types of movie themes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but they don't have to have the movie theme, do they?
No,
Okay.
the movie theme is not required. There's going to be some other logistical requirements, but we just want to bring everybody together under one thing for the Parade of Lights.
Okay, we already asked the question of why it was picked because of the State Theater to kind of help promote that. Is there anything new this year that people can expect?
Anything new? Well, like we said, we talked about many floats being in the parade, but also new in the last couple of years is the Junior Grand Marshal.
Oh, yes,
so similar
yes.
to the Grand Marshal, of course, but it's open to the public. So we're taking nominations for a young person who's made an impact in the Sioux Falls community, and you can nominate them by the end of next week as well. And it's been a great way to incorporate young people and the younger generations in the Parade of Lights, and not just the ones who are watching it.
And we'll get all the details. We'll get links set up on KELOLAND.com so people
Absolutely.
can go check out and see what the requirements are. The Grand Marshal, has that one been decided yet?
It
Who's gonna be
has
the Grand
not
Marshal?
been decided yet. We're going to be announcing that soon, but we're partnering that with the Junior Grand Marshal announcement.
How does the Parade of Lights impact downtown Sioux Falls? I mean, obviously, it's a big boon for the city.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a holiday tradition for so many generations, and it's a great way to kick off the holiday season in downtown, which is just a wonderful place to feel the energy and experience what Sioux Falls has to offer. And for small businesses, it's so important to bring. Last year, there was over 40,000 people here for the
Wow.
Parade of Lights.
Wow.
And so for small businesses, those are the people who are doing their holiday shopping there, who are dining, who are having entertainment, arts and culture. It's such a big impact to bring that foot traffic here.
The businesses don't want to close their doors early that day.
No, not that
Will
night.
will they be staying open late? Have you heard?
Yes, many businesses stay open late, especially the ones who are having food options, or some do specials, drink specials. And then even that weekend, it's huge because, of course, Thanksgiving and then the Parade of Lights. And then Small Business Saturday is right after the Parade of Lights. So it's a great weekend to be in downtown.
When you're talking about 40,000 people, obviously parking becomes kind of an issue in downtown Sioux
Oh,
Falls.
yes.
It's always an issue.
The P word.
But what advice would you give to anyone who's going to come to the Parade of Lights and where to park and handle the crowd?
That's a great question. And what I think people should realize is parking is free on the weekends. And so that day it's a holiday, so it'll be completely free. I suggest, my hot tip, park in a parking ramp, because it'll be very easy. It's right downtown, and there's plenty of spaces in the parking ramp to park. A lot of people think on-street parking on many of the neighborhoods will be the quickest way, but I highly suggest the parking ramps.
Okay, finally, just give us the details one more time. What time does it start? I know we kick off the holiday season here at Kello by lighting our holodeck tower.
Yes, that's right.
And then from then on, it is the holiday season.
Exactly. So Parade of Lights, November 29th. It's going to start at 7:30 p.m. It'll be right on historic Phillips Avenue, and you can stand along the street and get there early and make sure to get parking, visit some restaurants, some shops. It's just a wonderful tradition in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, if you can, make a day of it downtown, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's all dependent upon the weather. But that's another story.
Exactly. We'll wait it out.
All right, Sadie, thanks so much for being
Thank
on
you.
Inside KELOLAND, and good luck to you with the Parade of Lights.
Thank you very much.
Coming up in our final segment of Inside KELOLAND, progress is being made on the new Banquet West location. We are going to give you a tour of the facility right after the break. Welcome back. In spite of the wet construction season, crews are making good progress towards completing the Banquet Feeding Ministry's new location in Sioux Falls. The goal is to start serving free meals there early next year. KELOLAND's Perry Groten has our first look inside Banquet West.
It's a construction area right now, but soon the hard hats will give way to soft-hearted volunteers, serving warm meals to people in need.
A few months ago, we came out to just a bare piece of land, and now every week we come out and there's just more and more construction going on. You can see rooms forming. It's really exciting.
Once it's finished, the banquet's new West Side location will serve 5 evening meals a week.
Guests will walk in this store here. We'll have people wait in this waiting area here, and then they'll come through into the dining room.
The dining room will feature a serving line and seating for up to 200 people. The new building is modeled after the banquet's downtown location.
When the volunteers come to each place, they can recognize where they're at, and the same routine is for each of the layouts there.
But this new building will feature an improved exit strategy to avoid some of the crowding problems at the downtown site.
Was so close to where people would exit, we would get such a bottleneck going on there. So we worked with the architects to say, hey, how can we make that flow better? And they came up with a pretty good plan for us.
But the new building's biggest advantage is having kitchen facilities that are lacking at the banquet's temporary West Side serving site at the fairgrounds. That means volunteers will no longer have to unload food hauled in from across town. Instead, all of the meals will be prepared here.
And just the food's going to be here, they're going to cook it, and we're going to put it on the serving line and be ready to go.
Jan's Corporation is relying on the past experience of building restaurants as a blueprint for construction of the banquet's new facility.
The way the kitchen's laid out with the coolers, the kitchen equipment, a lot of that kind of plays into the same way that a restaurant is kind of designed to. So we've done a lot of those types of projects, so this is kind of right up our wheelhouse.
The building is going up along North Marion Road in the heart of one of the city's so-called food deserts, an area where families have a difficult time getting access to healthy and affordable meals.
It's a burden for a lot of people, and we've talked to the principals of Hayward Elementary, and they've identified that there's a need out here in this neighborhood, so we're so happy to be able to come in and fill that need.
Jan's Corporation and subcontractors are even doing some of the work for free to help ensure the project comes in on budget.
I feel honored to be a part of the project with the banquet and working with an organization that provides the service that they do to the community of Sioux Falls. So it's an honor for us, and I think everybody that's involved in the project to be a part of it.
The new building will be easier to get to than the banquet's fairgrounds location. It's within easy walking distance for many people who live here. Plus, it sits along a bus route. When it comes to location, West is best for feeding many of the working poor in Sioux Falls. With KELOLAND, I'm Perry Groten.
And crews will spend the next couple of weeks installing the parking lot and buttoning up the building for winter. The banquet is taking on a bigger financial commitment, running 2 facilities that serve meals 5 days a week. So if you would like to donate money or your time, we have a link to the banquet's website under this story at KELOLAND.com. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's Inside KELOLAND. For more information about today's topics, head to KELOLAND.com. Be sure to join us every Sunday following the 10 o'clock news right here on KELOLAND TV. I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for watching. Yeah.